Today we're going to talk about the science of self-confidence. I love when you guys request stuff and then we can talk about the stuff that you actually care about. And I've heard a few people be very interested in the subject we're going to talk about, the science of self-confidence. Let's define self-confidence. Does anyone have a definition for self-confidence? Do you know what self-confidence is?
Well, for example, for me, when I speak Spanish, I'm super confident. But when I speak English, I'm a little like, you know?
Not as confident.
Yeah.
Bingo. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why this is. Self-confidence is your ability, your confidence, your comfort in doing things, doing new things, for example, or things that you always do, given every risk there is to that thing that you want to do. That's really what it is. So you speak in a new language, right? What you think is there's risk in speaking and saying the wrong things and not being correct and proper in certain circumstances, but then there is a risk, and then when you do it, just your comfort level in doing that creates your self-confidence. So it is an important skill. You're not born with it. Nobody is genetically more self-confidence. It's a learned skill. It's something that we learn time and time. We have to develop it as a new skill. And when we get into new fields, for example, we have to rebuild it sometimes. Unless you have built that confidence over time in different fields, that you can apply it in new stuff when you do. But it is a skill. It's a very important skill to learn. And a lot of us, including myself, struggle with it in certain situations and certain circumstances. For example, a year ago, as I always mention, every year I decide to work on a new thing, new skill personally, one or two skills. And last year it was on communications, public speaking, doing presentations. So starting last year, I started building my skills around communications and my ability to talk publicly in front of other people to build that confidence. If you decide this year that self-confidence is at the top of your list of skills to build, then good news is you can do it. Within a year, you will be next level when it comes to confidence. So that's the definition of self-confidence. What's important to know, that's not a genetic thing. You can learn to become more self-confident as you go in your career, personal life, whatever it is that you're interested in. Now, what self-confidence isn't? What do you think self-confidence is not? For example, people act arrogant. Is that self-confidence? Probably not. So self-arrogance is not self-confidence. In fact, with people who are confident, they are more calm, they're more humble. Their confidence comes from their ability to do things versus people who are arrogant. That probably comes from an insecurity, probably ironically comes from lack of confidence. So most arrogant people actually lack confidence. And when you lack confidence, to mask for that, you might act arrogant in certain areas, which is not a good sign. So confidence comes from a humble perspective, comes from knowing, versus arrogance comes from insecurity and not knowing. Another thing, self-esteem.
Self-esteem might be what you think about yourself. And self-confidence is like this, like you said, like the skills or you're confident about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a learned trait for self-confidence, and self-esteem is what you think about yourself.
It's true. The both could be changed. So you can become more, have more self-esteem over time. But it's exactly what you said. It's the how much you value yourself. Versus self-confidence could be situational and task specific. So you can have a high self-esteem. I have a high self-esteem, but then when it came to public speaking, I didn't have the self-confidence because that wasn't a skill and a situation that I was comfortable with. So you could have a high self-esteem. It's recommended. You should have a high self-esteem. With self-esteem, it's something that how much you value yourself. With self-confidence, it's your ability to in a situation, basically. Now, I would say there's two types of self-confidence. There is the situational self-confidence that comes with skills within a certain field, and then there is an intrinsic self-confidence that's built over time after having confidence in multiple different situations and multiple different fields. Then you get potentially, hopefully, to a point that you could apply that in different areas of your life and be confident in those areas. So it goes like this: you take an action, you have a small win, you increase your confidence a little bit, you take another action, then you win a little bit bigger, and then you create more confidence in that field, right? And you take these actions against your will sometimes, even though there's risk, even though you're scared. For example, this might be a problem with some guys. It could be, for example, terrifying to approach a new person or a new girl, to go talk to them, say hi, whatever. But then if you put yourself in more social situations where you go start a conversation, communicate, and you might lose sometimes, but sometimes you get small little wins, and over time, the more you do it, you get bigger wins, you get better conversations, you get better, more confident, and then you could pocket that as an action that you could do with confidence, with ease of mind, basically. There are actually spiritual philosophies out there that tells you we're all born with the ability to do a ton of things. It's an extreme thing, but they say you have, as a human, you have the ability to basically do anything with confidence. Do public speaking, do acting, do improv, approach anyone, talk to them. You have the ability to do it. You just need to tap in to the right mindset, to the right part of the universe, because you as a being already know how everything works. So that says there is you as a being, and then there is all these layers of doubt that you have over that. And because of those doubts and those layers, you're not sometimes able to take those steps and create that competent within that certain field. Can anyone tell me a time that, or a subject or something that they're really confident in?
For example, like we got a new sales trainee. He's not very confident at all. Like, and we're really working hard. And me that have more experience, Carla has more experience. Like, we're really confident with the product knowledge we have and everything. But like the new people coming into the company, there you can see the lack of self-confidence they have. That could be like an example.
Right. That's a great example. We deal with that all the time.
I have an example. Is that okay? It's Nana here.
Oh, hi, Nana.
Hi. Is it okay if I jump in?
Absolutely.
So I've got a little story. I'm an ex-ballet dancer, so I know a lot about the body and movement. And so I'm really quite confident in being able to watch people's postures when they walk into the store and how to greet them in terms of their body language. But something that I wasn't confident at when I first started Ayub's was nuts. I had never eaten a single cashew or a Brazil nut before, or even tasted the array of nuts that we had at the store. But I guess through good training and just the experience that I had there at Ayub's, I was able to learn a little bit more about nuts. But yeah, that's mine.
Absolutely. Those are great examples where we have a field that we don't know anything about, and we jump in and we start learning, and over time we become more confident. And that tells you that our brain, that tells you two things really. There is neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself through repeated actions, and confidence is a habit, not a trait. So if you think of it as a habit, then it gets easier. You know that your brain opens up. Hey, I don't know much about nuts, but that's just a habit. I'm going to learn and I'm going to get better at it, more confident at it. There is all these other subjects that I know about that I've become confident in. So that's evidence that I could do things. My brain can learn things. And then now I'm going to learn this other new field and I've become more confident in. Now, we already touched on gaining expertise in a subject, which leads to confidence, right? So there are a few ways to increase your confidence. One of them is confidence through competence, right? When you become competent in something, then you become more confident. We're more confident in it. Another way, number two, the second way you can increase self-confidence is through a self-image. So tell me a good example of a good affirmation, like a morning affirmation.
Good morning affirmation. Like I look good and I'm gonna eat healthy today and I'm gonna have a great day.
Perfect. Perfect. Every morning you can say, I am healthy, I am beautiful, for example, or I'm confident, right? You say it in the mirror. I'm going to be honest, I haven't been good on, I know affirmations work and I know they're great and a lot of people use it. I've struggled with doing it on a daily basis. I write down affirmations and then I do it for a week and then I stop doing it after a little while. But they are a good way of rewiring and reshaping and visualizing your brain wiring. One thing I do, I like visualizing stuff. So I visualize my goal. I have, if anything I want to achieve, I have a picture of it, right? People that I want to be like, I have a picture of them on my wall. You know, I see it every day. This is what I want to be. Like, I want to be one thing from all these people, right? That helps the rewiring my subconscious, what my brain does. Like I've read all their books. I know their stories. Obviously, I don't want to, like, there are certain aspects of these people that I want to be like, not everything they do, but then this helps me visualize that. I have a friend who was in business and she was in a wholesale business and she wanted to buy a warehouse. That was the thing that she wanted to do. So she had a picture of a warehouse on her phone and she was always looking at it. Now, the self-image thing is a little bit outside of our self-confidence talk. That's more future projection, but Kay mentioned it, so I brought it up a little bit. But using affirmations and visualizations, like if you want to have a good body, putting a picture of someone with a nice body that you want on your wall, that helps reshaping your brain. For example, you could say, I could say, I am a confident, capable person who takes care of people around them. Like I could say that could be a good affirmation for me. And you could choose your affirmations. You could go search it. There are 1,000 different ones that you could use. Another thing on rewiring your brain is meditation. So 2 things so far we talked about: Visualize, like, what, rewiring your brain, right? That's number one. Number two, gaining confidence with competence, becoming competent in a field. And with that, you can become more confident in that field. Now, another thing that I want to mention is doing things outside your comfort zone. So you want to get more confidence, you got to start doing things outside your comfort zone. And you got to do it on a daily basis, right? For example, for me to be better at communicating, better at public speaking, I started improv classes, right? And the first session, honestly, I was terrified. I've never acted, I've never done a scene. English is my second language also. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna mess up so many times. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible. But I did it anyways. I went in. It was so much fun that I keep doing it. I've had like 6-7 sessions of improv now because it's just so fun and it just helps so much with being in the moment, getting rid of all those negative emotions and negative self-doubt talks that we have in our heads, which we're going to talk about soon. You know, you learn the skill with improv is you learn to be in that moment, right? Not in the past, not in the future. You are right there. You're hearing, you play practices to hear what happens right at that moment, right? And I feel like that helps a lot with confidence, right? A part of the reason if someone goes on a stage and they're terrified, people are more terrified at speaking in public than they are terrified of death. So that's the thing. Some people are more terrified to talk in front of other people than of dying. So, and a part of the reason that you get nervous when you go on stage is you're not in that moment, right? You're thinking about what other people are thinking. You're thinking about the past, all the times that you've failed. You're thinking about all the times that you've messed up a presentation, or you're thinking every failure that you've had when it comes to talking when you're on that stage. But if you had the ability to be right there at that moment, then you're in the moment. Like there is nothing to think about. It's your conversation with your audience. So that was my experience with improv. I went in the first session. Before I got in, it was terrifying, and then after I did it over and over and over, I am addicted. Like I want to do, and these sessions are 3-4 hours every time I go. So if you're not putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, do it. So you take one thing from this webinar, it should be that put yourself in situations that terrifies you. Does anyone wants to give me an example of a situation, a terrifying situation that they're gonna kind of attack and approach in the next couple of weeks? Carla.
For me, public speaking is not an issue, but
Yeah.
it's like making a fool of myself. For example, like just going somewhere and try to be funny, like on purpose. I hate that, and I had to do it like in my last term in school. We had to do like kind of a sketch. It had to be funny. I don't know. I couldn't sleep like the before because it was horrible for me. I really struggle with those things, like try to be funny. 'Cause, I mean, I think we all can be funny, but we're not trying to. But trying to be funny, it's something that it's for me. I don't get it. So it was really hard, but I did it. At the end, I had a good note, but I did it more like for the note. It was a little bit like more like a challenge for me. But it was
Exactly. That is a good challenge, something you were probably not comfortable with, and you did it anyways. You took that risk. Now, interesting what you said, because trying to be funny, you say, is is hard, right? Versus, we could all be funny,
Yeah,
right?
it's
But
not
now tell me, why is it that you think we can all be funny, but trying to be funny is a different thing?
because we are pretending. We want to make people to have the best idea of us. Like, oh, he's really funny. She's really funny, and that's the idea. If we are afraid of not being whatever they are expecting us to be.
That is beautiful. That's exactly my point. When you're in the moment, right? Not thinking about pretending and not pretending, that's when you can be funny, right? So for example, for a stand-up comedian, they don't go on stage trying to pretend to be funny. They're actually in that moment are funny.
And they are convinced that they are.
There are comments, they're like literally they are funny. They say, okay, I'm gonna get on stage and be myself. Right? That's why improv teaches you. That's why I love it so much, because you go in, you can't pretend to be anything. You don't know the next line. You could be talking about you and your mother in school. They could say stop. One character goes out. Now another character walks in. That was your mother. Now it's your teacher. And in the subject change, the space is the same subject change. So you can't be anything. You can't pretend nothing. You have to be in that moment present right there and listen to what the other person says, and then you say something. So pretending is out of the window. That's a great point, Carla. Like pretending versus actually being. You want to take on something, you just start by starting. How do you move a mountain? One rock at a time. Right? So, with anything, if it's a small thing that you want to change for yourself, you want to be confident, more confident in a field, then you start slowly. Anybody else wants to give an example of something they want to do, or no? This is very interesting because you say it here, you have to go do it.
Hey, I mean, I can give a little bit of the example here too.
Yeah.
For me, it's more like a daily communication that I'm making with my managers, just because, like, when every time I'm visiting the store, like we do talk about the leadership, right? Like, how you're going to be leading a team or how you're going to be developing yourself, sort of things. And like, I don't want to do the same things. And like, leadership is like no like one single answer. There's no like a right or a wrong answer. Like everyone has their like different style. So like I could like, I might be like saying something is wrong that not matching to like their leadership style. So there was a time that I was very scared of like kind of like speaking with confidence and telling everyone that what I'm saying is right.
Yeah.
When I'm kind of like, and then I slowly start understanding like everyone has a different style and my answer could be wrong for them, right?
Yeah.
And like I think there was a little time that I was like, being very small and shy to like talking about what I think, right?
Yeah.
And then like, it's kind of like, less communicating about that idea.
Beautiful. Yeah, you nailed it. And you gained confidence through competence, through doing it multiple times. And then you also gained confidence through rewiring internally in your head. So you did both internally, externally. You worked on your confidence.
And also that understanding, it came from like educating yourself as well. Like if you keep doing the same things in the same group, like you're gonna be the same person. So you can like gain the self-confidence like through the education as well, with the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Perfect. Anyone else with examples? Does anyone tell me if somebody's terrified of something and they want to do it, but they've been delaying it. Just say it here and we can hold you accountable. I swear, we can hold you accountable.
Making some mom friends. I don't have any mom friends.
Ah. That's it. That's good. That's great, right? So you wanna obviously it's good, especially as your kid grows up a little bit because they want play dates, right? My experience, it's not trust me, it's not easy. Finding the right mom that kind of matches you, and then the kid is a good kid, so they're kind of good. It's not easy, but it's important. It's
Yeah, and
important.
unfortunately, all of my really close friends don't want children. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do about it?
I am part of a couple mom groups, but so far I've just been kind of lingering in the back. So I guess I have to kind of just reach out.
Reach out, take a
Yeah.
small step. Take a small step. No pressure. Okay, good. Now, let's talk about a little bit what kills confidence. What are the things that kill confidence? Any ideas?
Overthinking.
Overthinking. Yes. What do you overthink about, maybe?
Me?
Anyone. What would you think? Tell me example of overthinking.
For me, it's just the worst case scenario.
Failure.
Taking whatever is in front of you and just going immediately to what's the worst thing that can happen.
Failure or rejection or worst case scenario, right? What's the worst thing that could happen if maybe I get rejected, maybe I fail in that task, right? What if I go on stage and I just do a terrible presentation? What happens, right? Fear of failure, fear of rejection. That's huge. That's one of the biggest killers of confidence. Does anyone have a strategy how to handle that?
I do.
Okay, tell me.
For me personally, I go into now and ask myself questions based on like, am I unsafe now? What is really going on right now? And if those questions it's a little bit muddy water, I try and iron out what's going on now, because a lot of our fear and a lot of our insecurities is based off what we've had in the past and what we think is coming. So if you can just tap into what is going on right now, and if you're in danger right now, if you're fearful right now, I think using your breath as well helps you kind of connect to being able to be present. So the more present you can be, the less chances of you being able to be stuck in what might happen, or being stuck in, oh, that's happened in the past, I will continue to behave this way because this has happened in the past. But yeah, trying to focus on what's going on right now and asking those two questions using your breath helps centers you a lot, is how I go about doing stuff.
Absolutely, you nailed it. Just being right now, right there, doesn't give you, if you can truly be in the moment, and it's not a walk in the park sometimes, but when you're in that moment, you're not, if you're now, those of you who have done meditation, they talk about being right now in the moment, feeling your senses, all that stuff. If you're right here, right now, you're not overthinking about the past or the future. You're right here, right? So that's one strategy to help with that. Anybody else? Anybody else has a different strategy?
I visualize, I try to process the thing like one time towards the end, like what are the possibilities that may happen, and just try to process it once, but the feelings doesn't go away, the feelings will stay, so that will take time. So you have anxiety, you have stress, but there are like situations that like why that happens and stuff, but then like try to think about it like logically, like being logical about the situation, like what is the worst case scenario, like what's gonna happen at the end, and like there might be different scenarios, and just visualize that, and then you realize it's not that terrible, or it might be even terrible, then whatever that is. And then I try to just tell myself that it's okay, so the feelings will go eventually, but nothing gonna happen. It's something like being a mother for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you are absolutely right. So you are, because oftentimes when we are fearful, the fear, there is a purpose to fear, right? We are hardwired to have fears to not die, that's why we have fear. It's a tool that we had, million 10,000 years ago. We had, there was a reason for these fears. So, but in today's environment, you're not going to die. Like if you get rejected, you're not kicked out of the tribe. You don't have to live by yourself forever. Like that doesn't happen. So oftentimes these fears are not rational. So what you do is you logically, as Negin said, process it and say, listen, like this fear doesn't make sense. So I'm going to do my best to ignore it and do what I need to do anyways. Right? And that's one frame of reference. That's one way to deal with this. Thanks, Negin. Edita, you want to say something?
I try to always focus on my strengths in this kind of situations, or
Yes.
positive self-talk.
Right.
At the end, everybody makes mistakes. Everyone failed with something sometime in their life. So
Yeah.
we are all pretty much on the same level. It's just getting an experience. And don't be afraid of taking the challenge. It's, I know it challenge might be, a new thing, brand new thing, and you don't know in the beginning how to do it, but
Yeah.
it's okay. It's everybody went through this. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I call that reframing, reframing the failure perspective, reframing that into a more positive frame, kind of saying that, even though some failures, some past experiences led to failure, doesn't mean this is going to lead to failure. We all fail. It doesn't matter. That's got nothing to do with this. You reframe it. Now, some people are very extreme at this. And I like to put myself in that category of reframing. And this is good for people who want to perform at a high level. And it comes from people like Michael Jordan, all these high performers, where you take the failure and you use it as fuel, right? You use it, you reframe it as failure is a learning process. I need to fail 1,000 times to get good at it. If you could do this in your head, that failure is just the process and nothing else. I'm going to go out there and fail. Like that's my goal. I'm going to go out and get rejected. I'm going to go out there and miss this shot. And I'm going to try so many times till I get it. That reframing of failure puts you at a completely different level. You go to the next level. Even more extreme than that is David Goggins. He puts in all the negative comments that the people put in under his videos. He records them, puts it on an audio recording, puts it on all the negative comments, and he goes for a run, right? Using the negative comments as a fuel, right? That's just next level thinking. It's like negative failure, self-doubt, all of that. I'm going to use that as a fuel. I'm going to tell myself, yes, I accept all these failures, and that's why I'm going to go to the next level. So you can level this up. Okay, let's move on. Another confidence killer is imposter syndrome. Feeling that you don't deserve success, feeling that you're not good enough despite achievements. Right? This is a big one, guys. I've seen it everywhere. I've had it myself. Imposter syndrome is not a good loop to be in, because we're supposed to gain competence and we're supposed to get confidence through competence. But what if we have internally deeply imposter syndrome, where, you know, no matter how successful we are, we still think we're not good enough? Anybody experiences that? Yeah.
That it correlates to self-sabotage, no?
Bingo. That's where I was gonna go next. Imposter syndrome leads to self-sabotage, right? I spoke about leadership lit. You guys remember that webinar when we talked about some people just can't get past a certain level, right? A certain level of success. As soon as they achieve a certain level of success that subconsciously they think they can only achieve, consciously they say, oh, I want to do this, I want to be this, I want to do that. But as soon as they reach a certain level, they start self-sabotaging. They don't think they're good enough. I see it all the time. I used to do it all the time to myself till I kind of realized it and recognized it, right? So why didn't I take that opportunity? Why did I drink 2 bottles of wine before my important presentation that I had to go to the next day? Because I don't think I'm good enough. You know? Subconsciously, consciously I do, but subconsciously I might think, hey, this behavior is not right. You know, you not taking on that opportunity, or you're not taking making the best out of it, means you don't think you deserve it. Subconsciously. As soon as I recognized that, and it took a long time, as soon as I recognized that about myself, my game changed. I went to a different level because now I'm self-sabotaging. What's going on? So imposter syndrome, really, really study this one. If you have it, if you suffer from it, I think everybody does it to a certain degree. And you need to really, really prove to yourself your success. Maybe take notes, maybe track it. Maybe surround yourself with people that believe in you and tell you that you can achieve certain things, because confidence is a transferable skill. So it's a big one. You can reframe that I'm not a good public speaker to I am learning to be an effective speaker. You can reframe that. Hey, I'm just not good at reaching out to people. Right? Reframe that into I haven't had enough practice reaching out to people. Right? I'm going to start doing that. Give me one more example of reframing. Anyone? Self-doubt.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about the topic that you were talking about. I had something in my mind. I think it's good to share. Always, whenever I see self-sabotaging or just like a bad thinking coming to my mind, and whenever I'm afraid to initiate things that I haven't done before, so I just take a distance from myself and look at myself from the like a distance and see myself from the past till now. And I say, oh, Mariam, you came a long way. Whatever that you were thinking, that was very bad things you were thinking about, they didn't happen. So it just gives me a confidence, and it gives me a courage to take it the other step. So whenever I have a self-doubt or these negative things, I just take myself back and look at myself from the distance.
Perfect. So you look at yourself from eagle eye view or whatever it's called, and you look at the pattern, look at reality versus everything that was in your head. You pick out all those positive experiences and you say, hey, this is what I've done, right? I'm gaining confidence through confidence. And then you transfer that into other fields. Don't forget to add the other stuff we talked about: reframing, affirmation in your head, doing things that scare you on a daily basis, to expand exactly what you were talking about, to expand upon what you have done and the way you do things now. And confidence is a skill. It's not genetic. So, like, have you ever seen those people that just talk like a Tony Robbins in front of thousands of people? They're just so good and fluent and so on it. He's just a human being, right? He's gained that skill to become that, you know? So you can do, and you can too, as you build this muscle in your brain that's called self-confidence. Okay. I still haven't started talking about Brian Tracy. I know you've all read the blog Hamid sent out, but we still haven't talked about it. So let's do a second webinar on self-confidence. Think about what I say. I want examples of you going out there, trying things that scare you, and I want you to come back and tell us what you did. Let's just take some big risks. Perfect. Feel free to ask me questions. Keep an eye for the blogs that come out. If you haven't done so, go to retailsense.net and subscribe to the newsletter so you get the newsletter. We don't have a webinar next week, but we'll have one the week after. All right. Good to see you all. If you don't have any questions, we'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Sorry.
Adios, amigo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Ali's gonna start speaking Spanish.